There are interdimensional demons that are influencing humans that are in key positions. A lot of people are just operating from autopilot. So most people that are enforcing the system, like doctors and teachers, are just traumatized human beings that really don't know what's going on, are just going along with it. But at the deepest level, I do feel that there is very horrific things, as we all know, because Epstein's list just came out. So, like, that's literally the tip of the iceberg of what these people have been doing for eons and eons.
Yeah.
Really, just these rituals, they invert reality. They've stolen the original teachings of the dragons of how creation works, and they've used it to entrap and enslave humanity. So they understand that human sexuality is our connection to life. So they've inserted all this ridiculous programming and inversions into our sexuality so that we would be imprisoned. They understand that human imagination is our connection to the divine. And so they've intentionally inserted education, video games, all this technology to block our ability to connect with that. They know that our heart is a portal to telepathy. So look at all this, emotional pain programming, like these music that they're playing, men only want to be tortured, women are a slave, like the subconscious messaging that's in the pop music these days.
Mm-hmm.
None of that is by accident, right? It's entirely by design. And so it's very easy to look around in our world today. I say that we live in a satanic society. Not that is very, I mean, it hasn't been overt. I guess in the last couple years it's become very overt because I literally just saw there's like a Cosmopolitan post on their public Instagram page that was like, get a satanic abortion ceremony. And I was like, what? I
Wow.
was absolutely shocked. You can literally go on as like, they have 4 million followers. They brag on their bio about being like the biggest young women media company in the world. And then if you scroll down, there's literally 3 entire posts about satanic abortion ceremonies. And so they're
Wow.
becoming more and more overt with it. But
Yeah.
even before this, time, you can tell because, what Satanism really is an utter and complete lack of reverence and even disgrace towards what is holy.
Mm.
And so most people in our society today live without an ounce of reverence for nature, for
Yeah.
our bodies, for all that is sacred, right? And so you don't have to be aggressively on the other side. All you have to do is live without reverence in your heart to be existing in a satanic society. And of
Mm.
course, we do have that degradation with the programming and the media and everything. And so this is really about our core essence and human, like what humans are and who humans are meant to live in accordance to. And we realize that we're really living in a fallen consciousness
Mm-hmm.
as a whole. So that's my perspective
Mm.
on that.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, you're right. There's a lot of more. I mean, I forget. Somehow I ended up following someone who posts a lot around, like pop stars and their sets on stage, and it's like all this, or hip hop artist, and it's all the satanic
Hmm.
related thing, like, oh, this is hip, this is cool, Satan,
Hmm.
satanic, super dark,
Right.
whatever. And so it's a really interesting thing that is getting more like blatant in a way. I've definitely
Hmm.
seen it myself. I mean, I haven't been to Cosmo's Instagram. Now I'm curious just to see, like, wow, I
Yeah.
mean, think of if they had done that in the 90s or 80s. I was a little kid in the 80s. And so I remember, like, it was a big deal. The Satanism became like, Geraldo Rivera, special report on Satanism, and like, and my little brother having trouble sleeping at night from watching it.
Hmm.
And, but, I'm curious how you think that energy kind of rising to the surface, is that, and simultaneously, I mean, I just was part of a 300-person event on New Year's where it's just like all incredibly conscious people, no alcohol. Everyone is in this expanded field. And we did this 4-hour prosperity portal ritual. And, and it's like the rise of Christ consciousness on
Hmm.
the planet is obviously simultaneously happening. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what your thoughts are on that. Um, yeah, just the
Hmm.
rise of Christ consciousness and how you see the two juxtaposing each other.
Yeah, so it's obvious that these people are forced to be more and more overt so that they can sustain some sort of power and contain the awakening that's happening. But I also feel like, I mean, this is why I say so forthfrontly that my mission is return God's love to the heart
Mm-hmm.
of humanity. Because, we all grew up in this society, and unless we consciously go in to heal our God wound, then even if we're really conscious, even if we're really awake, we can still be disconnected from God.
Yeah.
We can still have this rejection of even saying the word, right? A lot of people want to say source and Christ consciousness. We skirt around the word, and I'm all for using words that feel comfortable for us. But
Mm-hmm.
as long as, that discomfort is there, it's really about tracking it inside of ourselves and saying, okay, like, do I feel oppressed by this false God that has been inserted into our world? Do I feel like this masculine energy of divine father, do I feel that I can receive love from that? Do I feel a place in my heart for Holy Mother? Like, do I feel a connection in my daily life with God and recognize that, because I think that it's tricky when we grow up with that space inside of our heart empty. Every single human being is born with a cathedral, a space inside of our heart that is filled with God, filled with God's love, filled with our inner union with that creation. And that union, is filled with both humility and wonder. And when we grow up without that, we can have all sorts of kind of coping mechanisms, right? Because the world is trying to tell us that we're not sacred and you're just, you're unworthy, you don't matter. And so we grow up with this rebelliousness that says like, well, I am divine, I am God. And then we can take that too far into saying like, well, I'm God, right? And then we lose that reverence for this mystery that is essential for human life, is
Mm.
essential for us to be a healthy human being, to have this right relationship. Right relationship is so essential because yes, we are divine. We have a right relationship with our humanness. We have a right relationship with each other, holding reverence for each other as divine. And we also have to have right relationship with this greater aspect of us that we can never be as a human being. We
Yeah.
can never be the fullness of God. And in our human body, we must always just hold that reverence for the immaculate grace and mystery that that creation really is. And I really feel like unless we fully embody that, then this force can continue to exist because that missing place in our heart is the place where that lack of reverence, that Satanism can continue to exist.
Mm.
And so this is the work, I have a lot of courses, and what people always say is like, I thought I was coming to learn about A, B, and C, implants, my light body. I thought I was coming to learn about aliens. I thought I was coming to learn about my womb. And then what they end up experiencing and what they end up gaining is that they feel like their personal relationship with God is repaired and they now are filled with that love. And it's so interesting because, if I just market and say, I'm here to help you, heal your relationship with God, people don't buy that stuff, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
that's the trick is that when that hole is there, when that void is there, we don't want anything to do with God. We don't know what we're missing. And so it's like I have to share all these things that our mind thinks that we want, right? We want to talk to aliens, we want our psychic abilities, we want to have money, we want all these things. And then it's like, okay, like what do we really want? We want
Mm-hmm.
that empty space inside of our heart to actually just be fully filled with that love that is so eternal and so magnificent and so full of all the things that our
Yeah.
body needs to be healthy.
Yeah.
And once that fullness is there, we realize that we come into peace. And from there, we can actually serve, right?
Mm.
We can actually be an instrument of whatever that force is asking for us. We recognize that God wants the highest for us. God wants our highest love and our highest joy and our highest peace and our highest prosperity. But it has to come from this earnest and pure desire to be in union with that creation.
Mm. Yeah. I love that. Well said.